You're listening to the Teaching Toolbox with Brittany and Ellie. Join them as they talk all things middle school.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Teaching Toolbox Podcast. I'm Ellie, and I'm here with Brittany.
Hello.
And today we are going to unlock the secrets of swift and efficient grading, giving educators, you, more time for what you do best, teach. Today we've got about 10 tips and strategies to help you simplify and speed up your grading. So stay tuned.
Hey, Ellie, did you enjoy grading?
There were some things I liked about grading. It was nice to see how students were doing and kind of get some feedback on what I was doing right or not. So there were some positive things about grading, but I did not always enjoy all the time that it took, especially, evenings after the kids went to bed, or taking the papers to my kids' sporting events and grading them in between innings or at halftime or, during warm-ups and things like that. How about you?
I actually every summer would miss grading about mid-July.
Oh boy.
And so I would start to want to go back to school, which is very sad.
No, that's great.
But in the long run, I did not really enjoy grading. I did like to see the growth and the analytics. I love data, but the time it takes is so hard on the family and your hand, and so I just didn't enjoy that part. And in my early years, I could spend from around 8 or 9 p.m. until 3 or 4 in the morning grading.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So
I
wasn't getting a lot of sleep.
No,
Yeah.
You can't function that way.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things that makes our teachers' jobs so difficult, is trying to figure out how to fit in all the grading, how to make the grading go more quickly, how to decide what to grade.
Exactly.
So That's where we've got some good tips today.
Yes.
What would you like to start with?
So one thing I like to do is I would try to make assignments or make assessments that had an answer slot on the left-hand side, so that kids would take their answer and place it in that answer slot. And then I would just line up my key next to it and just boom, 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 boom down that side.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It made it really fast. You could do it on the right-hand side if you're, maybe if you're left-handed, you could do it on the right-hand side. Or you just don't want answers mishmash around the page, because it can that takes a lot of time, just hunting for answers.
Absolutely.
And so you just want to have all the answers like in a line ready to go, in a column. Just let the answers flow out and just go, kind of thing.
If you spent, as you said, if you spent 10 or 20 extra seconds searching for an answer, and then you're doing that 10 times on a page, times a couple pages, times however many kids papers you're grading, that really adds up to a lot of time. And by doing it that way, you're saving all of that time. So that's an excellent plan.
Yes. Yeah. What about you? What's something you would like to do when
One
you
thing
grade?
I liked to do, especially if I had multiple pages in an assessment, was do one page at a time. So all of page 1, then all of page 2, then all of page 3 for every single student. And that way, I kind of memorize the answers as you're going. You know what they are. And if you're only memorizing, say, the 10 questions on the first page, then doing all of the first page makes it faster. It's kind of like not task switching, because you're sticking with one page, one task over and over and over again. So I did that. And then I'd also do one question at a time. So if it was language arts and it was like a short essay answer, or if it was math and it was a lengthy word problem where they had to explain or they had to show all their work, that kind of thing, I would do all of that question over and over and over again, every single kid's page, so that, again, it sticks in your brain. You're not switching from one question to another and then trying to remember what your criteria were for each of those things, but instead doing the same one over and over and over again. And it might have been, maybe more times touching a student's paper because you're doing one question at a time, but it ended up being more efficient for me.
Yeah, same here. And that works really well anytime you're doing an essay or for language arts teachers in general. I would do the same thing in history and geography with essay questions and that sort of thing, because, there you can't line up answers. You can't, they're writing in sentences. So then you do have to hunt for those key points that you're looking for. And then you're also looking for like sentence structure and punctuation and spelling maybe, and, grammar, correct grammar and that sort of thing. And so when you're doing all that, you do want to keep those criteria fresh in your head. And so you don't want to switch and then go back and be like, wait, what was I? Did I count spelling in this one? Did I count? Yeah. And so, doing all those problems first or at one time makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I would do the same thing.
When I started doing that, that really cut down.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
cut
big
down
help.
All the time. Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Something else I also like to do was start grading when the students were still finishing up their tests, since everybody finished at different times. If I got 10 papers, then I would kind of put them on my clipboard and walk around the room. And as I was walking around and monitoring, I would do some grading on the clipboard just to get a little bit of that done before all the students were finished. And that helped. I mean, if I spent 10 or 15 minutes grading while everybody was finishing up, that cut down on my time later in the day, planning time or after school time. So I like to do that.
Yeah. I would do that occasionally too, or sometimes I would even kind of like pre-grade it. I would let kids turn it into me. This is when I taught math. I would let kids turn it into me and I would skim it real quick. And I would say, you might want to look over page 2 again. You have some errors on page 2, but I wouldn't tell them what was wrong.
Okay.
And so they had to go find it. And
that's great.
My daughter in college, her math teacher actually does the same thing. Okay. And so I was interested to find that out last semester when she took math, that she actually does the same thing. So that was kind of interesting that in college she's choosing to do that method as well. So yeah. And that kind of helps when they do finally turn it in done, because then you might have less to grade, because maybe they found their errors and now, more are correct, and you have less corrections to make and explanations to write and feedback to give and all of that. So
definitely.
Another thing you can do is to not grade every single question. The kids need to practice more than you need to grade. They need lots and lots of practice on how to do things and how to do lots of different types of problems in all the different subjects. And so when you can just pick and choose, we didn't do so hot on fractions last week, or the kids didn't know their capitals last week, or whatever, then you can just pick out, I'm going to grade, number 3, number 6, and number 10 off this warm up or whatever, and not grade all 10 problems. Then that's going to save you a lot of time as well.
Right. Definitely. Awesome. All right. So those are some great streamlining tips. How about an organizational tip or two? Do you have any organizational strategies that you used?
I like to alphabetize my students' papers when I grade.
Okay.
So it it doesn't really help you with the grading process and make that faster, but it does make the recording process faster.
Okay.
And then I would actually also have a sheet that I made. It was a little half sheet, and it would have all the students' names on it. At the very top, it would have the assignment name and the number of points possible. It might have, and it would have the date. It would have, like, if there was a snow day or absences and that sort of thing down on the side. And then I could put the students' scores next to their name.
Okay.
So that way I could hand back the papers and just keep that half paper and record it into my grade book or into the computer whenever I wanted to, because I had that little half sheet with me.
Gotcha.
And then on the right-hand side, next to the student's name, I had a place for notes where I could write, maybe had trouble with division or had trouble with the essay problem, doesn't understand how to, the rules of IE.
Okay.
So I could put any kind of note I wanted on the side, or I gave them an extension for 3 days, something like that. So that little half sheet was just like this golden receipt paper for me, where and then I would just keep those all year long in case there was ever a question or anything. So
that was going to be my question, is like, did you kind of hang on to those so you'd have them at parent-teacher conference time or things like that if you ever needed to go back and refer to something specific there? So you did keep those. Yeah, that's great.
What about you? What's an organizational strategy you would use in the classroom for grading?
Sometimes just using color by numbers or color by codes kind of thing makes grading really easy. And so you can grade the student's answer sheet in a similar way to what we talked about, because there's a specific spot to put each answer, so it's pretty easy to find them that way. Or you can grade the actual pattern and look at their pattern and see if their pattern matches your pattern answer key, and that makes it really fast and easy. So you can see, okay, this one was red instead of purple. What problem was that? And then you can quickly go to that problem and identify what they may have done wrong in that one. So that's really, it's organizational in a way, but it's also using a specific activity to kind of drive that organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And color by codes can be used in so many different subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple I had for language arts, for parts of speech and things like that.
Yeah. And you've got a lot for math, as do I, and history, and I know there's some out there for science, so
right.
Get a color by code. Yeah.
Right. So how about grading choices? We talked a little bit earlier about maybe you don't have to grade every single question, but what other grading choices might we be able to make grading more efficient, more strategic?
So I didn't learn this tip until a few years in to my teaching career, but not grading every set of papers. As I said, the kids need to practice a lot more than you need to grade. Mm-hmm. And when I was just very stressed out and very overwhelmed with everything going on in the classroom, I had my curriculum director show up at my door and go over to my stack of grading, which was probably about a foot high. And she went through and she took like 4 sets of papers out and just took them away from me. And tried to explain to me that papers can go in the circular file, i.e. the trash can. Mm-hmm. And luckily she just took them away and disappeared with them, because if she would have put them in my trash can, being the highly functioning type A person that I am, I would have gone and picked them out of the trash can. But that taught me that I didn't have to grade everything. The world was not going to end if those papers disappeared. And so that helped me a lot that day because I could see that I could throw things away and they were still going to get an accurate view of how they performed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me, my gosh, maybe my 3rd or 4th year of teaching, I was teaching with my 5th grade teacher. And
how cute.
Yeah, right. I remember, I think we're talking about having, I have X number of quizzes or this many, whatever, tests, quizzes, whatever number of grades. And he said something about, once you've got this number, that's really all you need. It's not going to change that much. No matter how many more you add, it's not going to change their grade, once you have this much. And so it's interesting, you could grade 100 things and not necessarily get the kind of feedback that you're looking for. You might be able to get the same feedback by having a conversation with a student and just taking 1 or 2 assessments and just having a conversation about, like, what did you do here? What were you thinking on this one? What do you notice about this? Just to get more into their mind instead of what's on their paper.
Yes.
So, thinking about grading in maybe a little bit different way, and that you don't have to have grade after grade after grade after grade to understand where a student is.
Yes. I love that. Just maybe slowing down a bit and having conferences with students instead of just piling more papers on your desk.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
That's a great idea.
I feel like I always learned more about what my students were thinking by walking around and stopping in and, say, what are you doing here? What are you thinking here? And they're willing to share. They're willing to tell you what they're thinking, and you learn more about them than you would from what they wrote on their paper. Especially, maybe not especially in math, but definitely in math.
Yeah.
And follow their thought process. So we're not going to grade more and more and more. We're going to perhaps limit what we're going to grade. And then, like you said before, we don't have to grade every single question. Depending on what the topic is, you may even give them a brief assignment and say, on this essay, I'm only going to grade the introduction, or I'm only going to grade the closing, or they give you a short paragraph and you're only going to grade for spelling or for capitalization or for sentence structure or for a sentence hook or something like that, you're not grading everything from every single part of an assignment.
Yeah. And you can get like little stamps at like teacher stores or online and stuff that say only graded for. And then it has different check boxes, or you can fill in a blank that says what you graded for.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about parents being upset about why is their spelling so bad on this paper? Why didn't you, correct all their spelling? Well, you've got at the top only graded for punctuation or only graded for introduction,
Right.
So
yeah, that's great. And if you happen to teach multiple subjects, you can take the same assignment potentially and grade it for both subjects. And that way, you're looking at the same assignment in 2 different ways, but by looking at it in 2 different ways, you're a bit more familiar with what's there, and it could make the grading process for one subject, like for language arts, quicker than it would have been if it was just a brand new essay. So you can kind of cut down on the number of things, perhaps, by using things in multiple subject areas.
Yes, that's a great idea. And we would actually do that because our history teacher and our language arts teacher were different.
Okay.
And we would actually just pass the paper from teacher to teacher.
Oh, great. Okay.
And that actually saved the kids some work too, instead of having to do double work. So that was a great idea. So, you can also just grade one type of math problem or one type of, I kind of mentioned this earlier, like one type of, they just didn't get the fraction problems this week, or they just didn't get the capital problems this week. So just grading those kind of problems on a warm-up or a homework assignment or whatever, just looking for those kind of problems. Choose 1, 2, or 3 and just check those ones. So
Right.
I did think of another one as we were talking. I would grade orally sometimes.
Okay.
In history class, I had my students learn their countries and capitals.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And as they worked on their interactive notebooks at their desk, we would have a testing week. And I would take maybe 5 or 6 kids a day and bring them back to my desk. And really quietly, I would give them a country or a capital, and they would have to tell me the country or capital that it belonged to.
Oh, that's great.
And so grading orally, you're done right then.
Right.
You just have the score immediately and you're done. So that saved a
fantastic.
lot of time.
That's great. Awesome.
So that's kind of a grading choice as well. So
Right. That's excellent.
All right. So today we've delved into grading with efficiency and precision. We've explored the art of streamlining your grading process, mastering organizational strategies, making effective grading choices. And so this week, we'd like you to try taking one of those strategies from the list of 10 plus we gave you and add it to your repertoire. Let us know if it helps you at Teaching Toolbox Podcast.
If you want any more support and grading ideas, you can find some of these ideas in my blog post about grading. Have a great week.
Bye.
You just listened to the Teaching Toolbox. Follow them on your favorite platform for more episodes and share it with a friend.